You hear the voice before you're fully awake, before the room has any light, before your feet hit the floor. There it is, already running, already telling you what today's going to be, already listing what you haven't done, what you should have said, and what could go wrong by noon. You didn't turn it on. It was already on. You handed something the keys to your life, and you did it so early, so completely, that you forgot you made the choice. That voice isn't your instinct. It isn't your conscience. It isn't wisdom. It's a committee. And you let the committee drive. Every decision you've second-guessed, every move you've talked yourself out of, every version of yourself you've embalmed before anyone else got the chance to see it, that wasn't you being careful. That was the committee doing its job. This isn't about overthinking. This isn't about mindset bullshit. This is about a man who's been living someone else's operating system for so long, he thinks it's his personality. I'm not going to try and help you quiet the noise. I'm here to show you the noise isn't yours to quiet, because it never was yours to begin with. In the next several minutes, I'm going to show you where that committee came from, what it actually wants, and what it costs you every single day you keep letting it run the meeting of your life. If you click off this video, you're handing them the keys again. And that's fine. They'll be waiting. They're always waiting. The voice in your head isn't neutral. It has an agenda. It was installed by everyone who ever needed you to stay manageable, stay predictable, stay small enough that they didn't have to feel threatened by you, adjust to you, or lose you. Your parents, the school system, the job, the relationship where you learned to shrink, none of them sat down and said, let's program this man to self-destruct. It wasn't malicious, but it was systematic. Every time you acted from instinct and got punished for it, you were told you were too loud, too much, too direct, too certain. The committee got a new member. Every time you learned that shrinking got rewarded, when you heard, good job, that's the right answer, see how much easier that was? That's when the committee got the promotion. By the time you were 30, the committee had tenure over you. Now, I'm not describing a concept. I have 3 notebooks, 3 of them, from 3 different years, with the same plan written in them, the same goal, the same first step. But the committee didn't let me get to the second step. It had very good reasons. It always has very good reasons. What the committee produces isn't thought. It's noise, and it's dressed up as thought. Now that gap, the gap between the signal that fires and the first noise that buries it, that gap is where your life is leaking out. Here's the part that's going to sting. The committee doesn't attack you. It doesn't tell you you're worthless. It's much smarter than that. Now you see, it volunteers. It says, hey, let me help you think through this. It says, hey, you don't want to make a mistake. It says, you're just being responsible, thorough, considerate, mature. And it hands you a legal pad. It lets you schedule a meeting with yourself about the meeting with yourself that you're already in. And while you're in there doing the responsible thing, that moment of inspiration passes. The email doesn't get sent. The conversation doesn't happen. The business doesn't get started. The version of you that would have said the uncomfortable true thing, he stayed quiet again. The committee convinced him it wasn't the right time. It is never the right time, and that's the design. The committee was not built to help you act. It was built to help you survive the people who needed you not to. You're not in that room anymore, but you kept the committee. You carried it out with you, furnished a whole life around it. You built your career inside its permissions. Every morning it starts before you're awake, running your day, listing the reasons, managing the risk of you. I did this for years. High functioning, productive, working hard in exactly the wrong direction. I called it being thorough. I called it not wanting to be reckless, to be mature and responsible. It was the most sophisticated lie I ever told myself. And I told it every day. The cost isn't visible. That's the other thing. You won't see it as a loss. You'll see it as a reasonable decision. You'll see it as patience, strategy, waiting for the right moment. You won't see the man you left behind in every room the committee said that man wasn't ready for. Here's what actually happens instead. You have 2 modes of operation. The first is inside out. Your instinct fires. You receive a clean signal. There's no justification required. You simply know. You know what the email should say. You know whether to take the deal. You know whether the relationship is over. You know. The second is outside in. You suppress the signal, sometimes in a few seconds, sometimes before you're even conscious of it, and you replace it with processing. You gather data. You consult the committee. You ask what everyone else will think. You rehearse the conversation 17 times, and you have the wrong one anyway. Most men live in the second mode and call it being a grown-up. It isn't. It's a man running someone else's code and calling it his character. The committee doesn't know you. It knows the version of you that survived the rooms that built it. It is optimized for those rooms, those people, that era. It has no idea what to do with who you've actually become, and it will manage you right into the grave if you keep giving it the wheel. The signal, the instinct that fires before the noise, that's not recklessness. That's not ego. That is the only thing in you that is actually yours. Everything after it is the committee work. I know what the signal feels like. I also know what I did with it for years. I know exactly how fast the committee moved in. It says, sure, but have you considered X? It's fast. It's practiced. And it sounds so much like wisdom that you give it the chair. The work isn't silencing the noise. Silencing isn't the point. The work is learning to act on the signal before the noise gets a vote. That's it. That's the whole thing. The committee isn't going away. I'm not going to tell you it will. I'm not going to tell you that if you do the work, one day you wake up and it's all quiet. That's not what happens. What happens is you get faster at recognizing your natural signals. You get better at moving on them before the committee convenes. You get a second, and then maybe two, and then a window. And in that window, you act like the man you actually are instead of the man they needed you to be. That's not a transformation. That's a practice. And it starts with being able to identify what's yours and what isn't. Most men have never done that inventory. They've never sat down and pulled apart which beliefs are signals and which are committee meeting minutes. They've just been living inside the whole pile of it and calling it themselves. Now, if you want to do that work, if you want to actually excavate what's underneath the noise, I put something together that walks you through exactly that process. It's the Identity Excavation Kit, and it's free. The link is below. It won't quiet the committee. Nothing will do that. But it will show you where it got the keys, and you can decide if you want them back. One video, one insight. If this landed, subscribe, and share this with a man who's been thorough his whole life and has very little to show for it.